When you're job searching or when you're applying to a program and you've sent in your application and you're waiting and waiting to hear the answer, there's nothing worse or more disappointing than getting that dreaded rejection letter or hearing the words, "I'm sorry, but you were not accepted to such and such a program," or "you did not get the job this year. Please try again," or maybe they don't even say "please try again." Sometimes it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with other factors that may or may not be out of your control. So today I'm going to discuss with you 5 reasons why you might not have gotten accepted to the JET program or the job that you're applying for in Japan, and what you can do to turn that around and make those negatives actually work for you and become a positive, and hopefully get you the position or the program that you want. Let's go. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you are new here, my name is Kim and I'm an elementary school teacher here in Yokohama, Japan. And if you've come back again, thank you so much for stopping by again. So although there are many factors that can influence why you may not get a job in Japan or get accepted to the JET program, I've narrowed it down to 5 reasons. And after I've given you the reason why you may not have gotten accepted to the program or the job that you were seeking, how you can use that rejection or that disappointment as a strategy the next time around. One of the first reasons why you may not have gotten the job or gotten accepted to a program in Japan is because of your age. And it's so frustrating. I was older when I applied for JET. I was at the time 29, and when I got accepted, I was happy because I wasn't the oldest. There were people in their 30s, and there was also someone in their 20s that had just graduated university. Now there is no age limit, I believe, and that being said, many programs, schools, advertisements still have that dreaded age limit. So sometimes companies or boards of education and even programs like the JET program like a diverse age range. And this is because they like veteran teachers or people that have a lot of work experience, because they figure that maybe it'll be easier for them to adapt, or maybe they'll know how to encounter certain situations and they won't freak out at the first sign of trouble or drama or whatever. And maybe a company would prefer somebody that's fresh out of university, that is ready to experience and try a lot of things, and maybe isn't so much worried about doing things a certain way, but is more concerned with getting the experience to help them in their career. So this is why I would say, don't let your age define you. And if a company does have an age limit and you still want to apply for that position, I say go ahead and do it, and show the reason why your age has nothing to do with how good or how perfect you would be for that particular job or company. So I'll give you an example. I was applying for a position, and on the website, the advertisement said that there was a 45-year age limit. And I was kind of in a situation where I was really determined and I really needed to find a job as soon as possible. And I thought, what the heck, I'm going to still apply. I'm going to get everything in. And I went ahead and I had to do a demonstration lesson. I had an interview, and everything went really well. In fact, the principal called my former principal to make sure that it was okay for me to accept this job, and was I really leaving the other school, because she couldn't understand why that particular school was willing to let me go. And that's a whole nother story. I was very grateful that both administrators kind of knew each other beforehand, and the circumstances as to why I was leaving was not a factor, as well as my age. And afterwards, I had told, the principal of the school I was just hired at that I had thought about applying previously, but the thing that deterred me was having that 45-year age limit, because I was well over 45 years old, and they had no idea that that was still on the recruiting page. So you know what they did? They took that age limit off. And there's a lot of schools that have wiped out that age limit factor. If you're young and if you have no experience, and if it's something that you want to do, go ahead and sell yourself. Like I said, I can't stress it enough. Don't let your age define who you are. And there probably are a lot of stereotypes with age. Some people are going to automatically assume that if you're older, perhaps you're not going to be as energetic, or maybe you don't know as many new techniques or strategies. And some people may assume that because you're younger, you might not have the discipline or the work ethics that an older person might have. All of that, it certainly depends on the individual. So just let that shine through, either in your cover letter or in your interview. The second factor that may determine whether or not you get a position or entrance into a program such as the JET program could be your experience. What I would suggest for those of you that have absolutely no experience is do a little bit of research, and perhaps show them that you are willing to learn, or that you do keep up with techniques and educators. Check out different websites, watch other YouTubers to see how they manage their classroom, or some of the things that they use to teach ESL or English or whatever subject area you're in, and show them that you're willing to learn. There are some schools or Board of Educations that may be able to not bend the rules. They may be able to accept your experience or what you have to offer if you can show them how it would benefit them. And so if perhaps you got rejected because you didn't have enough teaching experience, or maybe they hinted or alluded to the fact that you didn't have enough, I would say try and think of ways to show them that you're interested and you want to improve your craft. Maybe attend some workshops. Workshops are a great way to get some experience and some networking under your belt. And a lot of times they don't ask, you don't have to be employed at a school. You can still take certain workshops and learn about different techniques or talk about different strategies. Maybe even do things like, speak to one of your former teachers, or tutor a group of kids, and just see what it's like to control and how to plan lessons. The third factor as to why you may not have gotten a position, or why you may have been rejected from the JET program, is your nationality. It could just be having to do with numbers, or having to do with what the school may be looking for. For example, when I was working in Totori and I wanted to change and work in a bigger city, and at the time I was thinking Tokyo, my company that I was working for said, "Oh, no problem. With your experience, we can get you a place in Tokyo very easily." So I thought, oh, great. And then the company called me and told me that although I had all the qualifications and all the experience on paper, the school that they were thinking about said that they didn't want me because I wasn't a true American. And I thought, what? What's a true American? And the company tried to explain to the school that I was a native speaker. I grew up in Los Angeles. My pronunciation was very American. I had lots of American culture. Even though I was of Japanese descent, I grew up my whole life in the U.S. But the school just felt that I wasn't the right fit for their school. It was kind of, to me, a polite way of saying, we don't want you because you look Japanese, or we think you're Japanese. And it really did hurt. I'm not going to lie. And I started wondering whether or not that was one of the factors of why I was getting rejected from these places that I was applying to. During that particular time, I was willing to take a cut in salary. I was willing to relocate. And it happened again. I was applying to a brand new international school that was opening. And I was actually applying for a, more, not only a teaching position, but more along the lines of a coordinatorship or administrative position. And I had a lot of confidence in my abilities and my resume, but the letter, and I should have searched because I think I have it saved somewhere, the letter that I got said that the reason why I would not be the right person is because as a brand new international school, they needed somebody that would work in selling their school and promoting their school and advertising their school. And they felt that with my Japanese face, that parents might question whether or not this was going to be an international school, or was it just going to be another Japanese school that was using the word international to get students. And I did kind of wonder, because sometimes, right, I thought, well, maybe people don't see me as an American. Maybe where do I fall? And at this point, I was getting so frustrated by all these insinuations that I was great for the role, but it was just my appearance that was not getting me the job. So when I finally applied for one position at a board of education in a different prefecture, I was kind of blunt and to the point, and I said, look, I'm Japanese American. Is that going to be a factor? And the person that was doing the recruiting said, no. Should it be? And it was kind of funny, because I think they were really surprised that I asked that question. But I kind of explained to them what I had been going through, and the answer that I was given was, as long as your pronunciation is clear and you can share with the students parts of American culture, etc., that isn't a factor at all. And what I learned is, when I started writing my cover letter, I decided that I was going to show the pluses, or what I could bring being of Japanese descent. And so I decided to start using that in both my interviews and my cover letters. The other thing that I learned how to become a little bit more confident with is, I understood that, right, for business purposes or business strategies, it's still kind of superficial in who they decide to choose to use for the media, brochures, sharing information. And so obviously I was rarely asked to be on the brochures for school booklets or posters. They always chose somebody, that obviously looked very foreign. And I learned not to let that bother me, because what actually happened, right, is when I'm in the classroom and when I'm doing a sample lesson, or when people are observing, I think when people come to see me in the classroom and they hear the way I talk or they see the way I move or just the things that I'm sharing, immediately after a lot of demonstration classes or observation lessons, people will come and say, you know, can I ask where you're from? Or where did you learn your English? Or, oh my gosh, your English pronunciation is so good. And it's become kind of like an icebreaker. So one of the things that I would suggest is be proud of your culture. Be proud of where you come from and who you are, because more and more programs are looking for real people to interact with students and the community. They don't want just to see these stereotypes that kids find on the movies or on TV shows or in the magazines or in sports. They really want to see a lot more diversity, and I think the more you can introduce your culture and things that you can bring with you, you can turn any preconceived notion about, well, we only want to hire this nationality. So maybe that's how we can break down the barriers. The fourth thing kind of is maybe coincides with the nationality thing, but it could be your accent. Sometimes because a school has a relationship or a sister school relationship with, you know, the UK or Ireland or Australia or the US, Canada, wherever, they may want a person that comes from those countries because they want to expose their students to the accent that that country has. Sometimes, too, it could be as simple as, well, they already have native English speakers with this accent, and they really want to have another accent to allow their students to have exposure to all accents. So, right, it could be disappointing that, oh, you didn't get hired because, right, they already had enough American accents and they want someone with a different accent, but you can kind of perhaps understand maybe where they're coming from. I know there was one position I got turned down from because they said they really wanted a British accent. So jokingly during my interview, I started speaking with a British accent, just right to kind of lighten the mood. And I said, no, I totally understand. And they were really, really kind about it and nice about it. And so it wasn't, you know, I wasn't saying, oh man, you don't leave feeling upset. You leave kind of thinking, okay, well, you know, maybe I can get hired in another place that needs an American accent. I also think too, maybe it's not so much your accent as it is how clearly you enunciate or how slowly you talk. Don't be ashamed if you have, you know, a very strong accent from whatever country you come from, or if you have a strong dialect, because you'll find that in Japan too, there's lots of different dialects, and the intonation sometimes, right, could be a little bit different. It could be a factor. Hopefully it won't be. And number 5 is your intentions to stay in Japan, or how long you plan to stay in Japan. Some places will have a time limit, a limited contract, or they'll say, you know, you can stay from, 3 years, you can renew your contract up to 5 years, and then, right, that's it. Or they may say, we hope that you will make a long-term commitment. And it's good to check these things out ahead of time, because sometimes your answers could influence or determine whether or not you get accepted. This could be a whole nother video about people that come to teach and work here, and they do a certain number of years, and then all of a sudden their contract is not renewed, or they have to find another place of employment. And as they are getting older, they're finding that it's harder to find something with a little bit of stability. I'm a good example of that. You could have the best job, but maybe it doesn't offer the stability for the future. And it's so hard because I'm not somebody that thinks long term. I'm always just thinking in the moment and 1 year, one step at a time. And sometimes you can't do that, especially when you're thinking about contracts and retirement and benefits and all that other adult stuff. You have to really kind of plan and figure out, is this going to be a position that's going to be what I want it to be for the future or for short term. So if you kind of relay your feelings in your application or in your cover letter or your interview, it could be, a deciding factor. So just be aware of that. And I don't know, the way I would use it to my advantage is, once again, be honest with what you're putting out there and know what you're getting into. Because if you're kind of applying for a position that's looking for somebody more permanent or with a little bit more long-term commitment, and yet you're kind of being maybe, oh, well, I'm not sure, or you're putting out the signals there that you're looking maybe to move on to another country, or you're not quite sure where you're going, or that you might in the future be getting married or having a baby or whatever. Companies or programs may think, okay, well, we don't want to go through all the trouble of arranging the visa and doing this and doing that only to have that person leave. So I've kind of been on both sides of the table where you're helping out with recruiting, but I've also been on the side where you're applying and you're really thinking positive and feeling confident only to get the dreaded "I'm sorry" notice. But I've learned that it's just, there's reasons why you might not be the best fit for that particular position. It doesn't mean to say that you're not the best qualified applicant. You could essentially be the perfect person for this job. But maybe one of those factors that I've just mentioned is one of the reasons why you didn't get hired. That doesn't mean to say that there aren't other positions that are looking for somebody exactly like you. And I think, as discouraging or disappointing as it may be to kind of think about these things, definitely you can use it as part of your, as part of your game plan. I think sometimes people, they think, man, I keep applying and nothing's working. What am I doing wrong? And, it's just, you're not doing anything wrong. Sometimes it's just, you're not the right fit, or you're not what they're, looking for, but that doesn't mean that someone else is looking for someone just like you and your paths just haven't crossed yet, or you just haven't found that door. And I always truly believe that if you didn't get the position that you were hoping for, or if you didn't get into the program, if you don't get accepted to JET, or if you don't get accepted into whatever program that you're looking for, there's a reason for it. And it might not be clear at the time, but it just means that there's something better out there waiting for you, and you just haven't come across it yet. Or it's hard sometimes to be patient. Use that to help you light that fire, keep it alive. Don't give up. And it sounds so cliche to say, oh, don't give up, there's something out there, you just have to find it. Because I know that feeling of like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? But I don't know, sometimes things magically happen. And if it doesn't happen today or tomorrow, it might happen next week, or, in a month. And use that time, just keep moving forward. One of the things, it's once again very cliche, but you've got a lot of people behind you. You've got a lot of energy, and it's just a matter of using what you have and showing them that, hey, I'm here. I'm the one that you should be hiring. I know I'm not this or I'm not that, but I have this and I have that. I know I'm not this age, but with this age, I can do this or whatever. And I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, but seriously, if you've been in my shoes and if you have, tips or things that you'd like to share down below, please go ahead and share them in the comment section. If you're somebody that's, looking for a job and you have questions or maybe just need a little bit of cheer, go ahead and feel free to add that in the comments. Whatever I can share with you based on my experience, having been on, the successful side and the failure side and the learning lessons throughout my life, if that can help you and maybe, motivate you to go after challenges and do your best, then please let's connect. I'd love to have you join our community. So please consider subscribing, and if you found this video helpful or if you liked it or even if it just gave you a little burst of energy to go out there and apply or take on a challenge, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for stopping by and for supporting me. I really appreciate it. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.